gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Outside Line Podcast. The Outside Line Podcast. Outside Line Podcast.
Hang on to her, buddy. There's still three. He got him. He's
It just makes sense. It's too logical for them, for NASCAR, though.
Carson.
I'm glad you hear us, NASCAR. Make sure you keep listening. We'll see what happens. I'm going to take a breath here. That was a long rant.
Those cars are a lot tougher than an F1 car.
Yeah, that's what I like about IndyCar. You really need the spotter.
This is going to be fun. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Outside Line Podcast. My name is Jacob Barker. Today, I'm joined by Chris Shoemaker, Mason Wood, and introducing Paulina. Guys, how are we doing today? I appreciate
that. All right, how are you?
I'm tired. That's the simple way of putting it. But Paulina, thank you for joining us. Let's just jump right into it with our F1 segment for today. Paulina, you were at the Canadian Grand Prix last weekend. How was that experience?
Yeah, it was my fifth time going. I started in 2017. You can obviously tell since then it's gotten so packed and so popular. Despite the weather kind of being bad, it rained, I think, at the end of practice 3. Then all qualifying was wet. Luckily, Sunday was actually really good. But overall, the experience obviously is good. When you enter like an F1 Grand Prix nowadays, it's going to be packed with people. So it's definitely you gotta have a lot of patience trying to get everywhere because it's very packed, like extremely packed. But it's a lot of fun. The best part of the whole race is honestly the driver's parade that happens before the race, where the drivers kind of go around. And Canada's one of the few races where each driver gets their individual car and they kind of go around. Usually it'll be like a bus and they'll all be on it, or like they'll split it. But there is one, each driver gets a car, and then like they get to wave at the fans. I think Hamilton, every time I go, he waves because I have the English flag, so I've gotten him to say hi. But yeah, no, the Canada Grand Prix was actually pretty interesting. I think it started off with the yellow flag. I think it was Sargent who lost control or something, or something happened to his car. Then you had Russell kind of hit the wall, so that kind of spiced things up. Then you had Alonso versus Hamilton. Obviously, there was no doubt that Alonso was going to pass Hamilton because that Aston car is just the second best right now, to be quite honest. But the race is very interesting, and it's just definitely gotten so much popularity. It's like, I think the attendance was over 300,000, which I think is a record for Canada.
Was everything real expensive? Did they have like $50 nachos or something?
The food was like all right in pricing. It wasn't anything too crazy. I think like a hot dog was $4 or something, because I have to convert it. I think it's like 4 in American, which compared to like 6 or 7 like at a baseball game. So the food is like reasonably priced. The drinks, obviously, they're always been overpriced. The merch is expensive, but that's a given.
Why?
Why? I have no idea. I have just like a plain shirt is like at least $100 just for any team. Even like Williams, it's like $90, $100 for a shirt, just a regular shirt.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Mason.
That price too, because when we went to Italy back in March, there's quite a few Ferrari stores, and those prices they carry over. It is not any cheaper in Italy to buy a Ferrari shirt than it is here. It is expensive all the way around, even in the little retail stores in Venice.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Now, Paulina, where did you get to sit for the race weekend?
Yeah, the hairpin. There's 4 grandstands. So you got the Lance Stroll one, and then there's the one where the monitor is, where the turn is, and then the other side. So I was where if the hairpin's here, and like the cars are going around. I forgot. There's a name. I think grandstand. I forgot the number, but I was right where the hairpin is. So I was looking at the cars, kind of just going in that turn. Nothing too interesting, but
that's good seats though. You got
something.
to actually see it.
Oh yeah. Oh, and the monitor's right there, so you're always, watching the race.
Yeah, I'm jealous because that stuff it's hard to get into for one thing, like just to see a race.
Especially now, yeah.
I live in Florida, and I'm pretty sure you saw that those tickets, like $3,000 tickets to get in Miami, which is insane. Then they had like $250 fruit salad or something. Maybe it's more like 500. It's something stupid. And
yeah.
Those prices are exactly why I won't be in Vegas this fall in November. We were me and my girlfriend really wanted to go to the Vegas races, and then they revealed the prices, and I said, we are not going to Vegas this fall. That's not happening.
Yeah. Part of me is thinking that this Vegas race isn't going. I feel like it's going to be not really a train wreck, but incredibly boring. Have you seen the track map for it, Paulina?
I did. I saw. I think Lando Norris was racing it in the F1 game. Yeah. It's I think it's going to be like Monaco. I think it's just going to be, if you're finish pole, you're going to win. If you finish second, you're going to finish second. It's, and I just don't get the tickets. It's insane. It's insane. Same thing with like Miami. Like it's just it's stupid expensive.
And it's hard because those are the races that get hyped up a lot too. Like not to diss on Monaco, and I know Chris likes Monaco, but like Monaco gets a lot of hype, right? And like recently, I was on just an example. I was listening to the Pat McAfee show, and they were talking about F1, and they mentioned like Pat goes, he talked about, he's like, yeah, I watched one F1 race. I was gonna try and get into it, but it was Monaco, and then nothing happened. He's like, it was the most boring thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. And that's why I don't watch F1. And it's like, they hype up the wrong races. They hype up the races with the least amount of racing. Like, so that is a good point. Cause you know what? Las Vegas is going to get really hyped up at the end of the year. And then we're going to get there. And guess what? There may not be an ounce of racing on that racetrack. It's going to be we're not going to be able to call it a race. It's going to be called a drive.
100%.
Or a funeral procession.
It'll be fine.
Like races that I think are underrated is like Azerbaijan, because I feel like every time they race there, something happens. That's probably one of the best races on the grid. But of course, I mean, it's in the middle of, not nowhere, but like it's in the Middle East. No one knows about it.
One of those obscure countries.
Yeah, it's weirdly shaped. The track is weirdly shaped, but for me, it's like one of the best ones because like something always happens. Something interesting always happens. Then you have like, I get why Monaco is Monaco. It's one of the oldest tracks. It's historic. It's part of the Triple Crown in racing, but it's just, it's a boring race unless it rains.
Or unless something stupid happens, like Pastor Maldonado crashed a few years ago right into the barriers. And he didn't just crash into the barriers. His car kind of got weirdly locked into the barrier, and he dragged the whole tire barrier out, blocking the track. It's like one of those things only Pastor Maldonado can pull off. And they had to bring out a red flag, and it was like, I think it was like an hour and a half red flag just to get the tire barriers back. It wasn't even that bad of a crash. He just pulled it out of the track, and he just made a mess.
I love it. It.
F1 needs Pastor Maldonado back.
Oh, he was interesting.
I'll give him this though. When he wasn't crashing, he was fast. I think he was really underrated when he wasn't in the wall.
Yeah, he just had bad luck. Like I want to say he was kind of inconsistent, but like the mistakes he made was like they weren't to joke around with. They were pretty bad.
Yeah. It reminds me of Mark Webber back when he raced. I swear he spent half of his career in the air. I don't know if you've ever seen the 1999 Le Mans race, 24 Hours Le Mans. I think it was Le Mans. His car just caught some air. It was going over a hill and caught some air, and the air just lifted it up and it went flying. That happened twice.
It was the same year, I think.
Was it?
I think so.
And I think that happened to him twice too. And it seemed like one time he ended up in a creek. He wasn't hurt, but I swear he spent half of his career in the air through no fault of his own. I'm sure y'all have seen the crash at Valencia. I think it's 2010.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah, that was crazy. And he ended up with his life, which is like, if you see that, that was bad. That was
and then he
bad.
just threw out the steering wheel.
Yeah,
disgusted.
he walked out like it was nothing.
That's Australians for you.
Yeah.
Still want to see Will Power versus Kyle Busch.
Yeah. I remember about a year or two ago, Will Power in IndyCar, he challenged Kyle Busch to a fight. And he said he wanted to try NASCAR just so he could get into a fist fight with Kyle Busch. That is something I'd pay to see.
I feel like we all would.
Yeah, it's just like how I want to see Le Mans, or not Le Mans, NASCAR at Long Beach.
Yeah, that's still a bad idea.
It worked in Project Cars 2, so it should work in real life.
Project Cars 2 is not real life. As much as I want it to be, God?
Nerd.
Just saying. Okay, before we get far off track.
We passed that point.
I know. Before we get derailed even more, the Australian, goodness gracious. We're going back to Australia, guys. No, the Austrian Grand Prix is this coming weekend. Do we see anybody else other than Red Bull dominating once again?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's Red Bull's home race. Then you'll have Max's fans there, and everything will be orange.
Yeah. And, it's funny because in 2021, I went to the Grand Prix in Austria, and it was all Max. And I gotta remember if that year. Oh no, it was Albon in 2021 was his teammate. Or or was it
2020?
No, it was. Okay, so yeah, 2021. Because I think I don't remember the podium too well, but definitely Max came in first by like 9 seconds, like 10 seconds. It wasn't even a competition. And I think like Lando was like third, and I think Valtteri Bottas was second. I don't remember who the other Red Bull was. I want to say it was Checo. I don't remember what happened, but for a fact that arena, I say arena because I'm thinking Red Bull arena. But that track is gonna be all orange. Like between Austria, between Belgium, between the Netherlands, and I think Hungary. So he has 4 home races.
Mm-hmm.
By far, and Red Bull will dominate all 4.
Yeah. Wait, Hungary?
I think so, because it's like Austria and Hungary are like together. So I'm gonna say there's gonna be an orange army there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't.
Yeah, there was one race, kind of one somewhat obscure race, where he had a bunch of fans out of the blue. And it's a whole bunch of Dutch people out of the blue, and it wasn't anywhere near Holland. And
it was probably France.
I don't think so. It might have been Hungary.
So let's see. Austria is this coming weekend. Britain is the weekend of July 7th through the 9th. Hungary is the 21st through the 23rd, and then Belgium is the 28th through the 30th. So he'll have at least, if we're counting Hungary, he'll have at least 2 home races this month.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to stop his winning streak anytime soon.
Unless he's DNF or has an engine problem, puncture. Yeah.
You know, in some ways he reminds me a lot of Schumacher. Sometimes I like to compare Max and Schumacher, and I'll say this. I think Max has the better one-lap pace. If you put them together in their prime at an equal track, I'd say Max gets pole, but I'd have to say Schumacher wins the race overall. The problem with Max is he's very inconsistent. Well, not very inconsistent. He's fixed that, but he lets his head, he overthinks things a lot. And
he's 25. Give him some time.
He is young. Oh, he's still young, but he's technically, I guess, considered not a veteran, but he's been racing since 2016, so seven years already, and he's only 25. I mean, I kind of see the comparison between Max and Schumacher, but I feel like I can compare Lewis Hamilton better to Schumacher than Max, only because he's still younger. He still has years to prove if he wants to still be at the top. You know, he has to keep kind of doing what he's doing. You know, you never know. Maybe once they turn into fourth, he can maybe stop winning, depending on the 2026 changes. But I definitely do feel like he definitely gets too much into his head. Whenever he's obviously this year he doesn't have that much competition besides his teammate, but when he does have competition, he loses himself. Like look at 2021, the amount of times that he lost his head. Because he just sometimes the pressure kind of gets to him a little bit, so that's something he still kind of has to work on, is kind of keeping cool. Like Hamilton in 2021, he was like, okay, yeah, this guy's trying to beat me. Okay, like he has kind of kept it calm and cooler because veteran experience versus someone who's first year fighting for a championship. So he definitely still has a lot to prove, but definitely this year it's going to be easy for him because there's absolutely no competition. But you never know, if next year he has some kind of competition, whether it's Aston Martin really getting it up there, whether it's Mercedes finally up there, Ferrari, it may be trouble for him.
Not Ferrari.
No.
Even if they are the best team by miles, they're still going to screw it up.
They'll still screw something up.
It's like I can just see them going to Las Vegas, middle of the desert, no rain in sight, and they somehow think it's a good idea to put on wet tires. That's a Ferrari thing.
Yeah, their strategy team is, and I know they changed it. I know they switched, they got rid of Binotto, but it's still the same mistakes, the same stuff.
Yeah, and me as a person that grew up watching Ferrari and really liking Ferrari, that's painful. It really is.
Yeah, my brother's a Ferrari fan. He's like now, like he's still a fan, but he's like buying Aston merch. Like he just gave up. Like he's like, it's pain. Like it is. It's true because them, especially like last year, you could have learned from last year. Like you had a car to compete with Red Bull, but you kind of let it blew it up. And which race was it this year that Leclerc wanted soft and then they put hard? I forgot which. It was like a couple races ago. I forgot which one. But whatever, yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Well, and they screwed up their strategy right in front of your own eyes too.
Exactly.
In Canada.
They didn't pit during the safety car.
They did not. And that's why they were back there.
Ugh.
Paulina, do you play any of the F1 games at all?
Yes, I played the last 3 ones I've played.
Have you played F1 Manager?
It's funny. I have the game, but I never started it yet. I have to start it.
It's fun. I was thinking that, I swear, just some guy who plays Motorsport Manager or F1 Manager, I was saying this last episode, he would be a better strategist for Ferrari than whatever they're doing now.
100%. I 100% agree. Anybody really is better than Ferrari's strategy. They're so bad. And I don't know who's gonna be like, all right, this has to change. I don't know who's in charge, but I don't see it. Even during Vettel's time there, they still screwed up.
Yeah, I always think about 2018, how that's the year that Kimi was very consistent and was on the podium literally almost every race. He should have had several wins that season, but they still favored Vettel over Kimi. And
yeah, they did.
I think Kimi would have made it at least the championship race, the last race. I believe that he would have taken it to the last race. I don't think Hamilton would have won easy. And Kimi possibly could have taken it from Hamilton. I don't know, but I think it's plausible.
I mean, definitely he had competition 2017 and 18 with Ferrari for sure, a little bit in 2019, but more in 2017, 2018. I know in 2017, I think Hamilton was 30, 40 points behind Vettel. And I think the second half of the season, it was between Vettel did make some mistakes between their strategy, between the car and not being too reliable. And that's how Hamilton kind of just, won it at the end. So, I mean, ever since, I think the last, I think, wasn't it Kimi? No. Kimi was the last one that went for Ferrari?
It's Kimi.
That was 2007. That's almost 16, 15 years ago. And granted, their car, they had issues in 2020, 2021. I feel like heading into preseason last year, I thought it was Ferrari's year. They got this, their car is back to shape. They got 2 good drivers, and their strategists kind of just screwed everything over for them. So that's why it shows how important it is to have a good strategy team. But it's I don't know when they're gonna learn to, I don't know if they just don't like Leclerc. I don't know, and it's more like Leclerc. I feel like it's just Leclerc. Sainz, they screw him up too, but it's always Leclerc that has a problem, and it's just hard to find out why.
Yeah, and poor old Charles, whenever things go wrong, 80% of it's not his fault. Do you remember that crash in France? I think it was last year, when he just lost it going off that turn after the longest straight, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think that was his fault. I think something broke on the car because that was such a weird crash.
Yeah, they said that's what ruined his championship run. It was that race.
Yeah. Do y'all remember what I'm talking about, Jacob? Mason?
Yep.
Yeah. Y'all think it was the car, or you think?
I think it was him.
I think it was the car. I still think something broke on it, and he just happened to take the blame.
Yeah. We don't have the telemetry though.
No.
Yeah. I remember the crash. I forgot how. I have to see it again, but I remember it. For some reason, I remember it being that it was his fault because he was taking the blame, but I don't know if it was the team and that he's just taking the blame for it.
I keep thinking it was the car because it just snapped around like that on a fast corner. And to me, it looked like to me it was brakes. Because when you stop, when your brakes aren't quite right and you stop, that'll just automatically turn the car around.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Now,
okay.
I want to make a quick note
about
back to the beginning with Max. Can I make a quick note?
No.
Yes.
Because okay, so we
Rude.
sat here for a minute and we talked about things that like Max like needs to work on, and obviously I mentioned like he's 25 years old. That has to like absolutely terrify like F1 and the FIA because like he may not even be in his prime yet. He may not even be anywhere close to it. He may be multiple years away from hitting his prime because obviously he needs to think, work on things with his head and stuff. Imagine when he cleans all that crap up. Oh my God. I mean, we're talking about him
And
now
he's
winning every single race.
and he's already tied Senna in wins, which is the even scarier part.
Yeah, that's the part I think when people try when you make comparisons, that's what people forget is he's not even there yet. We haven't even seen the best of Max Verstappen yet. He's 25. Their
Will
best
we
is
ever?
yet to come.
Will we ever see it though? Because there are rumors that might retire in 2028.
hmm
I don't think
never know.
he's going to retire.
I guess it
Not if he's
depends
winning.
on. Yeah, I was gonna say if he's still winning, he probably won't. But no, I get what Mason is saying. It could either be that this is just the beginning, or it could be like this is his prime. Like it depends. Like every driver is different. Vettel retired at 34, 35, but Hamilton and Alonso are still going at almost 40. So it also just depends. And I think part of the reason why Vettel decided to retire is because the last 2 or 3 seasons he's been driving in a bad car. I mean, I would have wished that he would have stayed an extra year because he would have been dominating again. But it is what it is. So it Max, still stays. Whether it was a Red Bull, he ends up changing in a few years, and he's still winning and winning and winning. He's gonna keep going until he's Hamilton's age, even more. But it really depends. He definitely has to work on his attitude. Sometimes he just blurts things out, like what he called Russell a couple races ago. After the whole incident, the sprint race. So he definitely has to be careful with his mouth, his attitude. I like his demeanor. I like that he's a competitor, that he always wants to win. But at the end of the day, you have to just kind of be careful what you say, your attitude, because that's going to affect you. Especially once you start to compete with, other drivers, maybe not this year, but maybe next year, then it's going to get to him.
Yeah, that's what got Vettel in trouble. I believe it was 2017 when he just lost at Azerbaijan. I believe that was the year that he ran into Hamilton under the safety car. And so I think that's going to bite him in the butt. And what I've been saying about Hamilton to a few of my buddies Verstappen is, I don't think he has a champion's mentality. Yes, he's won 2 and on his way to win 3, but he doesn't still quite have that mentality yet, where Schumacher did and Hamilton does now. And even switching sports to IndyCar and Joseph Newgarden, they all are very mentally focused and don't get inside their own head. And that's what I like about all of them, is just that fact. You
could say willpower is the same way too. He's the same way.
So, with all that being said, who's going to be on our podiums for this weekend at Austria? Chris, why don't we start with you, because I know you like to make 5 picks at once.
Well, for this one, I think it's going to be a pretty simple one. It's going to be Max, Sergio, and I might go with Hamilton.
Okay.
What, did you pick yours, Mason?
You loser. I'm on the Hamilton train right now. Get off.
You guys called me out. You guys called me out at Canada for picking Hamilton to be on the podium, but no.
No, I said Hamilton was on my Canada podium. We called you out for Alonso on the podium, and we were dead wrong. We were dead wrong. I said it mid-race. when he was running up front, I was like, God damn it, Alonso, you ruined our picks. You made me look stupid.
I still look stupid with the Cup Series.
Like some knuckleheads, but hey, what's his name?
And you're still complaining.
Stroll made us look fine. Stroll finished 9th, right? It's
That's
Alonso
fine.
that ruined everything, man.
Okay. Do you wanna make your 3 picks before you blow a gasket?
Sure. Watch this. Max.
Yep.
All right. And then we're gonna go with Sergio.
Yep.
And then he picked Hamilton. I'm Alonso.
I was thinking about Alonso. I'll say that much.
I just talked smack about Alonso. Give me Alonso. And now he's gonna finish 9th.
Or it'll be Stroll that somehow finishes 3rd.
Yeah.
Some stupidness.
All right, Paulina, who are your 3 that are finishing on the podium this weekend?
Yeah, definitely. I think Red Bull are going to have a 1 and 2. I think Checo's going to have a better race weekend. He's had pretty bad ones the past couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So he's definitely going to be Max Checo. Who knows? Maybe Checo can win, but probably won't. But he'll definitely be on the podium. 3rd is interesting because I'm between definitely Hamilton and Alonso. I know Alonso's car is definitely better. I know Mercedes is coming out with new upgrades, but I think he's not until Silverstone. So I'm going to give it to Alonso. I'll give it to him for 3rd.
Well, Mason, Paulina, you guys have the exact same 3 that I picked. So just for fun, I will switch it up. I'm going to go for Verstappen, Alonso, Perez, just for funsies.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say Verstappen, Alonso, and Stroll.
No.
And you could have rolled the dice. I know he didn't do well in Canada, right? But needing a bounce back week, who knows? George Russell, he finished 4th there last year, so
yeah,
he could have a solid weekend with the way that Mercedes is running. But at the same time, that would also mean that Lewis probably has a pretty good weekend too. Something's got to happen to Red Bull in order for both of them to finish well this weekend.
Mm-hmm. So those are our podiums for Austria this coming weekend. 2 quick little things before we wrap up our F1 segment for today. Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool himself, has bought exactly a 24% share of Alpine. How crazy is that?
Oh, for a second I thought it was AlphaTauri. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that, man. Ryan Reynolds is hilarious, but I don't know what to make of it.
I guess ever since his Wrexham, I think he's getting into sports outside of the United States-ish. I get it. Sports are not as popular here that are growing, so I'm not surprised. I'm really not. It's weird that he picked Alpine. It's a little strange, but I don't know what the relation is with why he decided Alpine. But listen, he's to me one of the best guys, just out there, just in general, he's a good actor, he's funny. What he's doing to the people of Wrexham is unbelievable, and I'm glad he's doing it. So who knows, maybe he'll do the same thing for Alpine, but I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I said it in the pre-show, he's into buying everything right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't he own a hockey team at this point? I think he's got a stake in
is it Toronto?
I think it's
something in Canada.
This is one of the teams in Canada, Toronto or Edmonton. I can't remember which one, but I know he's got a stake somewhere up there. And he's the owner of Mint Mobile. I mean, the man is spending money like crazy. He's just living life at this point, being Deadpool, So now he's like, I want an F1. I want my own F1 team, and now he owns a stake in it. Maybe one day Reynolds F1 will grace the grid. Who knows?
Man, if
Deadpool
they make
F1.
If they make a F1 reference in Deadpool 3, that would just be the greatest thing ever.
Hey, I always remember, who knows? Maybe Ryan Reynolds gets in a car and does a race. I remember when Tony Stark got in the car in Monaco and raced it. Was it Monaco? Yeah, he raced in Monaco. That. Yeah. What a
Iron
crazy
Man
event.
2.
What a crazy event that whole thing was, man.
Why couldn't
also the ones from Fast X, Diesel and the freaking Megan Rodriguez, I think they got in the car, but I think it was Diesel. I don't know about Megan, but
when you got Brad Pitt,
Brad Pitt's another one that got one. Yeah.
Why couldn't he have done something like help fund Andretti F1 team?
Because Andretti F1 team doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I mean, that's still might be a thing. You underestimate Mario.
Maybe
Michael.
Maybe they didn't give him the opportunity to call it Reynolds F1 one day. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you never
he's
know.
looking bigger picture, Chris. You know, he wants Reynolds F1 to be 1-2 on the grid. You know, they're going to be better than Red Bull in 2028. I'm telling you right now. Everybody heard it here first. That's a joke, by the way. Please don't take me seriously if I'm like, for the love of God.
Deadpool Grand Prix.
The Deadpool Grand Prix.
Otherwise known as the New York Grand Prix, apparently.
Yeah. F1 at Watkins Glen.
Oh, God. No. They did used to race there.
Yeah.
They used to race there.
1980.
But nowadays it'd be terrible, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It would completely mess up Watkins Glen.
And I love Watkins Glen.
Yeah.
Well,
Watkins Glen don't need F1.
Well, as NASCAR fans, we're used to like a specific layout. I feel like if F1 went there, they'd have to mess with the layout somewhat. It would be different than what we're used to as fans normally.
They would have to use the boot layout.
Yeah. The part I forget exists on the track because nobody uses it.
And then they would have to go, and I could see them taking up those powder blue Armcos and just taking away all the character that makes Watkins Glen. You know, so Watkins Glen don't need F1.
That is the moral of the story. So, excuse me. That'll probably do it for our F1 segment. I think we talked a lot positive about obviously the Canadian Grand Prix, Paulina's experience. So that was awesome to hear. So let's move on to IndyCar really quick.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching this most recent edition of the Outside Line podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure to check us out on Spotify at The Outside Line. And if you liked Christopher, Jacob, and I's opinions, make sure to check us out on Bagsport's page for more articles and opinions about F1, NASCAR, and IndyCar. Thank you again for watching The Outside Line.